Good evening, everyone. I'm back with the second part of my, the video. In the first one, I dealt with the poetry teaching in junior classes. And today I'm going to deal with critical appreciation of poetry in senior classes. So welcome to my channel. As always, I'm thankful and grateful to you for your comments and suggestions. I'm still waiting for more suggestions, but since not too many suggestions have come up, I have thought of a few topics for my future videos. So I won't waste any time. I'll start away, straight away with my presentation. Okay. So here we are. Of course, this is a ceremonial welcome to the channel. So welcome to Eloquent English Enterprise. And today we are going to deal with critical appreciation of poetry in senior school classes. I'll go about it as quickly as possible so that the video is not very long. Okay. When we start teaching poetry to senior classes, first we have to set up a background. Okay, those parts I'm going to discuss as we progress further. So initially, before telling them anything about the backdrop or the background, you have to start off with careful and multiple reading or recitation of the poem. Now, how do we do this? Okay. So we start with a very careful and multiple recitation of the poem. And we read it aloud for its sonic qualities, and we pay attention to the word choice, pronunciation, and line breaks. Okay. For the time being, I'm removing myself from the screen. All right. Then we have to underline the keywords, phrases, and images that stand out. So in every line and stanza, we have to bring out the important aspects of the poem, the keywords, the phrases, the images, which are different from the usual. Something we say offbeat, all right? And then we annotate the poem. That is, we write down questions, the definitions of complex words, your initial thoughts and interpretations of the specific lines and stanzas or stanzas. So we make a kind of an appreciation of what has been written. Then we come to the, sorry. Okay. Then we come to the analysis of form and technique. That is the analyzing of form and technique. So firstly, we have to identify the form of the poem. That is it a sonnet? Is it a ballad? Is it free verse? It is, whatever kind of poem has been used, or the kind of, the variety or the type of poem which has been written. Then how does the form contribute to the meaning or theme? So this particular form, is it in tandem with the theme of the poem or not? So this is our own personal interpretation. Then we examine the rhyme scheme and meter of the poem. So do they create a sense of order, or are they chaotic, or they are musical or lyrical in nature? So this is what we have to, derive or for ourselves. Then we analyze the literary devices which have been used. For example, the similes, the metaphors, personification, alliteration, all these things are to be analyzed and seen. Where and how have they been used? Then we come to the main theme and meaning of the poem. So what's the central theme of the poem? Is it romantic? Is it something about, is it a kind of a satire, or is it ironical? So what is the central theme? Is it trying to convey a message to you, or it's just for maybe for the enjoyment of whatever is being described? So that central theme we have to capture and we have to convey it to our students. The second point is to understand the speaker's voice and perspective. That is, who is speaking and what are the beliefs of this particular person and biases. There are some people who are biased against a few social practices or maybe something personal. So what is the writer's own voice and perspective about the poem and life in general or the society in general? Then, how does the poem deal with universal themes? Now, what are these universal themes? Like life, death, nature, human emotions, society, intricacies of relationships, and the tender moments where we tend to give in. So, does the poem deal with these kind of universal themes or not? If yes, then what's theme? Then we have to analyze the conflict or tension within the poem. That is, I just mentioned even in the webinar that there are some poems which have a lot of tension within them. For example, The Highwayman, which was written by Alfred Noyes. The Highwayman is a story of a highwayman. He's a roadside kind of a thief who's in love with the daughter of the landlord of an inn. And there's another, the negative character over there is Tim the ostler, who also loves the same girl, Beth. Okay, and in this kind of an enmity, he makes a plot where both the highwayman and the girl get killed. So as the poem progresses, we, the readers, are in continuous tension. What's going to happen? Oh God, let them live. So this kind of conflict or tension within the poem has to be analyzed by the readers, or in fact, first by the teacher before he or she goes into the class to explain. Then we have to connect ourselves and our students to the context. Like we have to research. Now, this is important, but I did not put it as the first point of the video, because till the students have not read a little bit of his or her writing, they will not be able to relate with the poet. So towards the middle of your explanation or your teaching, you have to give them a little insight into the poet's own biography and historical context of the poem. For example, as I just mentioned, if we take up The Rape of the Lock, which was written by Alexander Pope, he brings out a very satirical kind of explanation of the Victorian society. So because he lived in that kind of society where smaller things, smaller aspects of life were made out into big mountains, okay, making mountains out of a molehill. So very, very small little things, very minute things, which actually should not have even existed. They were blown up, they were magnified in those days. So when we go through Alexander Pope's poems, we get to know his satirical feelings for his society. Then we also have to explore the intertextual connections to other poems, myths, or works of art. Like if other people have also written on the same kind of topics. For example, we can try and correlate Wordsworth and Keats, who were both romantic poets from the Elizabethan era. Okay. Next is personal response and interpretation. Like whatever my teacher may have said about a poem, or whatever other students have thought about that. But I personally have my own beliefs about a certain poem. Like for example, The Night of the Scorpion. The Night of the Scorpion is another beautiful poem where the mother, towards the end of it, she says that thank God it picked upon me and spared my children. So it shows the universal love of a mother for her children. This is my personal interpretation. So does the poem resonate with my own experiences and thoughts? Yes, I'm a mother now, but when I read it for the first time, I wasn't. But today, I know what lengths a mother can go for the protection of her children. So once a poem is read, what are the kind of critical questions that may arise for me in particular? Now I'm discussing the personal aspect of my interpretation. So does the poem raise any questions for me or no? Or I accept whatever the poet has been trying to tell me. The third is from my, I have to form my own interpretation. There have been certain poems where I thought that maybe, the poet was not correct. But yes, maybe since I was a student at that time. But today I do realize, I may interpret it in my own way or I may not. What the poet had to write, he or she is already written. So if I am teaching my students, I have a free hand or I have a free will to express my personal interpretation of the poem also to my students. The message I can also add over there. So now I'm going to take up this particular poem to make my things or make my points more clear. A thing of beauty, which I'm sure a lot of teachers who are teaching the senior secondary classes, they would know. Okay. John Keats, as I just mentioned, is one of the greatest romantic poets ever. He lived in the Elizabethan era. So firstly, we will take up title analysis. Like, what does this particular, why has he chosen this title? So this we can try to interpret ourselves. Like, as per me, the title suggests a focus on the aesthetic side of life, beauty, and the subjective nature of what may or may not be considered beautiful. Okay, so a thing of beauty. Now, it is anything which could be beautiful. It could be a flower, it could be a beautiful woman, it could be an innocent child. And talking about myself, I see beauty even in my dog's eyes. The way he looks when I make his food, the way he looks at me, I feel that, pools of love and affection for me. So we can find beauty in absolutely anything, even the food prepared by our mothers. It's made with so much of care and concern and love for their children. Then the introduction part. So we begin by providing some context about the poet John Keats and the Romantic era. You have to introduce John Keats as one of the best writers of his times, and he can be categorized under the Romantic tag. His background, he had a very influential career, and also he has his own style of writing. You can mention some other poems also by him, like, for example, the Ode to a Nightingale, the Ode to a Grecian Urn. More poems if you have been through them. Then discuss the form and structure of the poem with your students. The poem consists of 10-line stanzas written in iambic pentameter. This I will explain later, or I will write it down in the comment box because the meeting will not last more than 40 minutes. Okay, so this iambic pentameter, which is, in short, I can say that every line is supposed to be written in a certain meter. Iambic means it has 5 iambs in every line. Iambs are one syllable is stressed and one is not. For example, if I say define, so di is unstressed and fine is stressed. So define and then followed by 4 other such sets of syllables. So iambic pentameter, 5 of these iambs are there in every line. Okay, so this is the form and structure that we are going to talk about. Then the language and diction. So we analyze the poet's language and diction. Keats often uses very rich and sensuous language to convey his emotions, and we have to identify if any archaic words have been used. Now, archaic words are old style words or old English kinds of words which are still used only to create some effect. For example, hark. Hark means listen, or damsel, young lady. So these kinds of ahoy, now these are words which have been taken from the old style of English, but they are still there. They can still be used very effectively. So this kind of language, has it been used? Have any unusual words been used? And if yes, then what is their significance? Okay. Then we come to imagery. Now, imagery is something very, very beautiful. It is one of the most beautiful figures of speech where the poet creates a scene in front of you or before your eyes just with the use of words. For example, if I think of The Highwayman only, there's one line which I've not been able to forget ever since my own childhood. The moon was a ghostly galleon tossed upon the cloudy seas. Now, the moon has been likened to a galleon, which is a ship, and it was tossed upon the sea of clouds. In simple language, the moon was hidden behind the clouds. But how does our poet say? The moon was a ghostly gallant tossed upon the cloudy seas. Now, this is imagery. With his words, he has created an aura of a dark night where the moon is coming out for a while and then going behind the clouds again. So beautifully he's written. Same poem, there's another line. The road was a ribbon on the purple moor, something. So like, instead of a green grassland at night, the moor was looking purple and the road seemed to be winding around it like a thin ribbon. So this is imagery that we are talking about. Coming to themes, now themes are the primary themes such as the redemptive power of beauty. In this particular poem, the theme is the redemptive power of beauty. That is how beauty can take you away from your tensions and how does it make an emotional release from your tensions. So a thing of beauty is a joy forever. Okay, this is the basic theme of the poem, and also it brings about before you the transience of life. That is, life is transitory. It is not something which is permanent. Somebody please please mute yourself. Please mute yourself. I can hear somebody. Kindly mute yourself. Okay. So and the relationship between humans and nature. So then the third point is the tone and mood. So discuss the tone, which is generally very celebratory and optimistic. When Keats writes about nature, he celebrates the beauty of nature. He is very optimistic about nature. So that's the general tone and mood of the poem. The literary devices I just mentioned, there's so many of the figures of speech which have been used. And the central metaphor over here, this is one where beauty has been likened to a perpetual spring. It's like a fountain goes on forever and ever and ever. So that's the central metaphor. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. It's a perennial source of inspiration and beauty. So in conclusion about this poem, you can say you summarize the key points which have been discussed in the analysis earlier, and you may conclude with an evaluation of the poem's effectiveness in conveying its themes and the enduring relevance of its message, whether the poem has been effective or successful in the conveyance of its themes and the relevance of its message. So this is how you're going to conclude the poem for your students. And if you can read through this, I'll make it stay for some time, or you can take a screenshot. So this is a sample analysis of A Thing of Beauty. Here, John Keats intricately weaves together the themes of beauty, nature, and art. Through the use of lush imagery and a melodic structure, the poet explores the idea that beauty has the power to redeem and elevate the human spirit. The poem's central metaphor, equating beauty to a perpetual spring, underscores Keats's belief in the enduring and transformative nature of aesthetic experiences. The language is rich and sensuous, creating a vivid sensory experience for the reader. Keats employs various literary devices, including metaphors and personification, to enhance the emotional impact of the poem. The celebration of beauty in A Thing of Beauty aligns with the romantic ideals of finding inspiration and solace in the natural world. The poem's enduring appeal lies in its ability to evoke a profound appreciation for the beauty that surrounds us, making it a timeless piece in the realm of romantic poetry. Encourage your students to delve deeper into specific aspects, supporting their analysis with textual evidence. This approach allows for a comprehensive understanding of the poem and fosters critical thinking skills among students. So this is the sample analysis of the poem. All right. Then we come to the end of this short, not exactly short video. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching Eloquent English Enterprise. And I'll stop sharing over here. Now, the next, the webinar which I'm going to take up is going to be on some pronunciations. Thank you so much for all of you for being over here. There are still about 5 participants, though I already had a webinar. This was basically only to do the recording, but thank you for being over here. There's one particular figure of speech, again, because of the paucity of time, I am not able to discuss that. So one or more figures of speech I'm going to jot down in the the comment box where I'm going to put up this video on my YouTube channel. So if you want to see this again, if you want to refer to this video again, kindly go to Eloquent English Enterprise, and you'll be able to see me over there with the same presentation. So for the time being, it's bye-bye from my side, and see you very soon with some difficult pronunciations in the English language. So bye-bye. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for being over here. Bye.